I'm Kevin Graham and welcome to the Axon Bulletin on this Monday, the Monday after the season has finished. And I think we can all say thank in the name of Mary, Joseph and the wee man that the season has finished and we can all move on. As usual on the Monday, I'm joined by Russell Boyce. Boyce, how are you today?
I'm good, my man. I'm very well, thank you.
And Tony Haggerty. Tony, you're in the mothership today. How are you getting on?
I'm good, I'm in the Don Curly Wurly seat, you know what I mean? I'm feeling good, you know? Feel like the Godfather. I'll be issuing out instructions later.
Yes. Are you the sniper today? Are you going to be on sniping duties in the comments?
I don't know if my aim's that good. I've got 4 eyes like you, Kevin, you know what I mean? So I'd probably be off target, yeah.
I only need these for reading. That's all I need. I only need these for reading. Obviously, the title of today's show is Good Riddance to 2021. The time for rebuilding is now. And you would think that, and after the last week, the Celtic PR department's probably thanking themselves for some of the scenes that have happened in Glasgow over the weekend because it's took the heat off them a little bit. Last week, Celtic held 2 meetings. One with fans' organisations and one the fans' forum for individual fans to actually attend. Now, I went to the fans' forum on Thursday night. It was by Zoom. Paul was there and also so was Declan McConville from A Celtic State of Mind. And this question, the time for rebuilding is now. I've actually got a bad feeling after being in that meeting that we don't know what direction that we're going. It was one of the worst meetings I've had attended in my life. And they spoke this season. They spoke this season about entitlement, the Celtic support feeling entitled about success. I saw an executive committee sitting in that room who thought they were just entitled to take our money and for us to shut up, put up and move on. And they can't underestimate us because that's not going to happen. They look at the reaction that those 2 meetings have had online, and with people that were there was a shock and disbelief. Now, Paul had a go at me for saying flabbergasted when I said my bit at the meeting. I can actually safely say flabbergasted was not the F word I wanted to use. I've been to dozens of these meetings, lads, and this was the first one really I actually got an unbridled rage. I was fuming at the way that we were being spoke to and the way we were basically being asked to turn up, pay our money. Rangers are quite good now, so just give us your money and we might buy some decent players with it. There was nothing there. This executive committee had no intention of offering the Celtic support any sort of discount from this season. They hoped that we would just go away. They would hope that we could just go, we'll just put the season tickets out for sale again and nobody will actually mention anything. Now, it's meant to be a consultation period, was rubbish. Absolutely rubbish. They've had to put these 2 meetings in because there was a statement the week before to say, introduce Don Mackay, this and that, and they said, we're going to consult. Season tickets, the campaign for season tickets should have been done weeks ago. But what's actually quite clear from this meeting, that there's no any PR done. There's no advertisements because the PR department, Kerry Keenan and that, were asking people to email them their Celtic story to be involved in the sale of season tickets. I'm 6 weeks away from my first direct debit coming off. 6 weeks away from my first direct debit coming off. And it's quite clear there is no plan in place whatsoever. Every one of these, what I actually says to the executive committee when I got my chance to speak was, I'm actually shocked and appalled that they're sitting there with nothing to put forward to the Celtic support. To ask the Celtic support, what do you want us to do? For me, that's unforgivable. Tony, what do you think?
Well, You know what I think? Because I alluded to that only an excuse sketch, which someone kindly put up, and you commented on it as well, Kevin. And the more things change, the more things stay the same. They would have been as well saying that, wouldn't they? The statement reads as follows, it's no our fault, go away, mind your own business, we are mere custodians, gie us money. I don't think you could be any more succinct in a jocular fashion, but actually there's many a true word spoken in jest, and you've just hit the nail on the head there. There is no plan moving forward. That meeting should have been able to tell the Celtic supporters something, i.e. a new manager, or allude to a new manager, spell it out, kind of. But as you said there, you come away from that meeting and you're raging, you're angry. And that's what those guys have made you feel. They've not made you feel that reinvigorated. We've had a terrible season, but we're going to go again, and we're going to do X, Y, and Z. They've made you more angry about what's came before. I mean, it's virtually impossible to do that. But they've managed it. They've found a way.
I was one to give the Celtic Executive Committee the benefit of the doubt. We do everything behind. We don't shout about what we're doing. But for them to come to this meeting, 2 meetings, not just one meeting, 2 meetings, and seemingly the one with the supporters or organisations was even worse than the one that I was at, judging by the reports that I'm actually getting for guys who attended that. You talk about a car crash meeting, this was a pilot meeting seemingly, and nobody came out of it well. Nobody actually came out of it well. And when you have a look at that, you go, you haven't got a clue. I was giving you the benefit of the doubt that you were working away diligently in the background, and basically you've been sitting there going, they'll give us their money anyway. Don't worry about it. We'll just sit here and we'll shut up, and the minions will just walk up, the peasants will walk up and give us the money because they just want to beat Rangers, and Rangers are quite good and we might buy some decent players. Russell, what's your thoughts?
Well, it's disappointing that, obviously I agree with what Tony's saying, same as it ever was. I think I'd put on Twitter or whatever. But I mean, the difference is with this time was it was the start of a fresh chance with obviously Dom Mackay's presence. I kind of wanted to find out what your sort of take on him, having been there, Kev, was on Dom Mackay first and foremost, because to me he was the sort of difference maker in the past era to the new one, and to find out that, albeit he's only been in the job a short spell of time, for the meetings to have been described as car crashes still is just a wee bit concerning. What sort of input did he have at the meeting? Or was he more of a, on the, sort of in a back seat, or was Dom Mackay kind of front, left and centre of this? So what's the score?
He was front, left and centre of this meeting. He did. Okay. When he got Brian Wilson, I missed the start of it. I must admit, I missed the start of this meeting because I was still working.
Right.
But Paul was on Friday and he told you about the start of the meeting. So I missed Brian Wilson actually telling us we had to look at the positives of this season. I missed that. I'm actually quite glad I missed that, because I probably would have got angrier before. I actually ended up getting angrier.
I'm glad you missed it.
So I missed the start, and I just kind of joined it when I introduced Dom Mackay, and he came round and he started speaking about not the future, just that what he's been doing since the start, since he's been shadowing Peter Law.
Yeah.
And look, it's very difficult to get a feel for a person over Zoom.
Yeah.
Or Microsoft Teams, whatever it was. It's very difficult. But I just heard a whole load of cliches that I've heard Peter Law speak for 17 years. That's what I heard.
I exempted Dominic Mackay because I don't think it's fair, right? But the only thing I said he should take ownership of was the noisy neighbours. Mm-hmm. Because I thought that lacked professionalism, right? But I've exempted Dominic Mackay from anything to do with this season, including these meetings. He was just kind of saying hello, and if people are not impressed there, he's kind of inherited a situation, and hopefully he will make it better, right? But the lack of professionalism in calling Rangers the noisy neighbours annoyed me. And then people were getting annoyed at me for flagging that up. But you have to conduct yourself with some decency and decorum when you're in those situations, because you are going on to represent Celtic at the highest possible level in the Celtic board and represent the fans. That's what I was driving at.
No, you're quite right. It's the same with Peter Lawlow's Rory Bremner quip at the AGM. That shouldn't be happening at that level. It shouldn't have been happening at that level. And like, what really got me? And again, what you're saying, I'm not going to judge Don Mackay on that. Yeah. I'm not going to judge him on that meeting. He's came in there to introduce himself, knowing full well that he can't tell us exactly what's going on. I understand that. But the Noisy Neighbours stuff, there was a whole load of Chief Executive David Brent cliché stuff that we've all been in meetings and we've all heard before. But I'm not going to judge Don Mackay on that meeting. I'm going to judge him what he does next.
Yeah.
Because when I was sitting having a look at that executive board there, it's like, it's jobs for the boys. It's like a Masonic bowling club for Celtic. For Celtic. But that's probably an insult to Masonic bowling clubs, because they probably run far better in this shower than they proved in that meeting.
Probably get more money.
Probably. But before I go into my right point, they were having a go about communication. They were having a go about communication. And the head of the PR department is sitting in the meeting and does not utter a word to counter his department absolutely getting slaughtered. Does not stick his hand up and go, by the way, can I answer that? Sits there silently. Your head of PR sitting and does not say a word while his department is absolutely getting a kicking down the road. For me, he's either sitting there going, I can't answer that because I know it's true, or he's gone, it wasn't my fault, I'm just doing what I was told. So you can put your own spin on it. The most contentious issue is the added value. And it's very clear that they didn't want to give us added value. It's very clear that what they basically wanted to do with the added value was kick it down the road and go, we'll talk about that later, because you might not get back into stadiums next season. So just give us the full money, and we'll talk about this at this point next year, and we'll forget about it again, because we'll just move on. Basically, what actually happened was they went to the floor, and the first comment in the floor was, I reckon, a plant. The first comment that was taken from the floor, I reckon, was a plant. And basically, this guy says, I didn't ken what we're wanting money back for. I didn't ken why we didn't want to buy season tickets. I've got money for my 6 season tickets here. Take my money off me. Please, please, please take my money. And everybody else should be the same. And I was like, right away, my hair's on my back of my neck standing up and that. Then what really set me nuclear was Brian Wilson. Brian Wilson, who was chairing the meeting, the Labour MP. He went with that. He went, yes, that's what we like to hear. At that point, I went, this is utterly disgraceful. A Labour MP saying that's what we like to hear. Give us your money, no questions asked. Give us your money. We didn't want a voice. We just want... Just give us it. Shut up. Take your medicine and move on. I was fuming at that comment. I was fuming that that the guy that was chairing the meeting, a Labour socialist MP that was chairing that meeting, just wanted us to blindly shut up and accept what we were getting told. What's your thoughts after hearing that?
Well, it does sound a wee bit suspect, you know what I mean? That the first person who's speaking is not even remotely challenging the narrative. In fact, is almost gushing over how amazing it's going to be the day that they get to renew the ticket, which, let's be honest, doesn't seem like that is the current mood of the whole fan base. Let's be honest, I've never heard anyone speaking like that, to be perfectly honest to you, at this stage. Now it's the end of the season, of course, but at that stage of the season, is what's been a complete disaster. So it is hard to believe that it was genuine. Obviously, it's one of those things we don't know for sure either way. And then I think with the host jumping in like that, it certainly adds to there's an agenda here that we're trying to push, and that is trying to promote the sale of season tickets. And for him to be jumping in like that, I don't know if you can look at the Labour MPing too deeply. I mean, he's in a different role when he's hosting that. It should only be treated as that when he's doing that aspect. I don't know, unless you are an MP 24/7. I don't know. Why was he there in the first place if that's going to come into it?
What I actually says to them, Russell, what I actually says to them was, look out the right-hand window, because the way they were sitting in the corridor. I said, look out the right-hand window, there's a statue there of Brother Walford. Any decision you make a Celtic Football Club, you should ask, what would Brother Walford have done? Now, I understand that that's a romantic notion, a complete and utterly romantic notion. And as Paul says on Friday, Dominic Mackay says, Celtic in this order, business, football, then charity. For me, that's completely the wrong way around. It's football, charity, then business. Or even charity, football and business.
That astounded me, Kevin. Completely in the wrong order. My heart sank when Paul John Dyke said that. It really did. And it should sink the heart of every Celtic supporter if that's the way those at the top conduct their business. I've watched two clubs, right? One a big club and one a small club act in the way every club should have acted this season with regards to their fans. Motherwell, the season ticket holders that bought a season ticket last season, it's valid for this season. What a brilliant way to reconnect with your fans. What a brilliant gesture. Absolutely fantastic. A club like Motherwell, who need money more than anybody in the top 12, right? But no, what an unbelievable, because they've got a CEO that gets it. Alan Burrows gets it. He gets football, he gets fans, he just gets it, right? And Ajax melting their trophy down to give their fans a piece of history, a star, a silver star, I think it was, making them feel included, making them feel important. 40,000 stars they've commissioned because they've got 40,000 season ticket holders. How would you feel to have a bit of that league trophy? You know, it's something back. Again, going back to your romantic notions, okay, Celtic never won anything, but it's your finger on the pulse of the heart of the fans, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's something back, and both of them doing a historical thing. I mean, I want to see that Ajax star. I'd love to see somebody put it up on Twitter and show what it actually is. It would look absolutely wonderful, but Celtic have offered the fans the square root of nothing, and then insulted them further by saying, what's your ideas? What should we give? What should we give you?
What should we do?
Aye,
you tell us. You tell us.
And see if you don't have. Aye, if you don't have a plan, if you're not got your finger in the pulse of the heart of the Celtic supporters, Kevin, you've seen it all the time. You're not fit for office. You're not fit for purpose. You shouldn't be there. You shouldn't be representing the very people who put you there. I mean, it's astounding. It flabbergasted. You're right, it's not the right F word, to be honest, but it suffices for now because you get flung off air for your actual thoughts.
What I actually says to them when I actually fed my comments back to them, now what I will actually say, Tony, I mean, when we saw this season was gone pear-shaped in September, we should have melted down the free trophy so nobody else could have got them.
That's a great shout.
Should have melted them all down, what I actually says to them was, look out, you've got a statue of Brother Walford there. What would he have done? And what he would have done was do what Motherwell have done, do what Ajax have done. There would have been a token of goodwill. Now, people don't want the discount. There will be thousands upon thousands of fans that don't want the £50 or £100 discount, whatever they want to give us, right? But there'll be people who need it. Yeah. There will be people who need that £100, whether it's to stop another £100 going on their credit card, whether when they're getting their direct debit at the end of the month, it's £25 off that direct debit, it's a tenner off that direct debit, which will help for electricity, gas, food, whatever. There will be people that need that discount. And this, I'm all right, Jack. I can pay for my 6 season tickets, is no the way a Celtic supporter should behave. He should know we should at least get the option of having a discount and take a discount if we need the discount.
See, for uttering those very words, I've got my 6 season ticket holders and I've got the cash to pay for them. We should have been escorted at the meeting for uttering those words right there and then. Because as you say, that's a lot of money to somebody, and it's a lot of money to a lot of Celtic supporters who may be struggling to pay for one season ticket, but they're scrimping and scraping together, and they've been offered no recompense or no added value or no discount. People genuinely need that. They've come through the worst year ever in history almost, or one of the worst years, and it's something that should have been offered to those that need it, and those that wanted to take on a discount should have been able to take it without feeling bad about it. So I can't understand. That's another reason why they're out of touch, by offering nothing and just hoping that blind loyalty, just counting on that blind loyalty and the money pouring in again. It's scandalous.
How does it get to the stage as well where you're at this end of season sort of meeting where they then put it to the fans for the idea? Surely, because this was talked about at the start of the season, added value. So surely you get to a stage during the season where you go, do you know what? We've not got an idea. Let's put it to the fans and we'll come up with something at the end of the campaign. But for the next few months, we'll take ideas in. To be only pitching it at the end of the season that, we're waiting to hear for you, totally subscribes then to what Kev's saying, that really there was no plan at all and they were just hoping they could get away with it. That completely blows that out the water. Do you know what I mean? It means that's what's occurred, because if you realise this is a season that lasts 9-10 months. So if you realise 3-4 months in, see that added value we spoke about, has anyone came up with something yet? And everyone's sitting there going, no, I've not. Why don't we ask the supporters? Aye, good idea. If you only do that if you've got an intention of giving the added value, whatever it may be. If you've no intention of it, you brush it under the carpet. You wait till the end of the season thing and hope that there's no Kevin Grahams in the crowd, for example, and it doesn't need to come up. And that's what they do. And to then go, we're hoping to hear from you. I mean, that just tells me that can't be a business decision that they've decided to pitch it to the fans 9 months later from the start of the season, 10 months later. That is not how any business model works. It doesn't make sense.
I've got these words in my head, ladies and gentlemen, the new Celtic manager, Mr. John Hughes.
Oh, no.
The Yogi Bus had a ring to it.
The Yogi Bus.
But smacking of no plan, if you get what I mean,
The Yellowstone, we're all off the Yellowstone Park.
Yes, exactly.
Hammy comes in with an interesting point here. I mean, I'll go back, before I get to Hammy's point, what I'll go back to actually says, I says to that Celtic Executive Committee, if you show the Celtic support some goodwill, they will show you goodwill back. And that should be your only decision that you have to make. Look at Motherwell, right? I know we're on a completely different scale from Motherwell. Motherwell have got 4,000 season ticket holders. I'll guarantee my bottom dollar that 3,000 will pay for season tickets, because that's what they'll do, because Motherwell have showed them that goodwill. Because that's what happens. If a club shows that they actually care about you enough, you will give them something back. Now, what they actually says was, if they gave £200 off the season tickets, it would cost you £10.6 million. That's what it says. So I went, well, if they gave us £100 off the season tickets, this is normal price season tickets, not the concessions or that, that's £5.3 million. I'm willing to put my hat on, which I heard they got on, that if they offered every normal season ticket holder £100, they wouldn't give out $2 million, because the majority of people wouldn't take the discount. The people who would take the discount are the people who need the discount. Or the people...
They should be offered it, Kev. That's the point.
They should be offered it. We should be offered it.
It should be an offer that should be made. That would be an example of added value. Mm-hmm. That should be a given. And if you want to take them up on that offer, take it. But as you say, not many would.
Not many would. Hammy, I'll come into Hammy. Hammy 1084 says, Celtic fans not wanting a discount need to ask themselves, what would Celtic do if you were £100 short? They would send you a debt collection agency. That's what they would do if you were £100 short. And that's the way that they actually do work. Russell, what do you think about the discount situation, or what do you think added value? I hate the term added value. I'm calling it discount. I'm actually calling it a discount.
I think the Motherwell example is very interesting because whilst we can always say, I mean, I was amazed when I read it, I'll be honest with you. And whilst it's easy to say they're different scales, surely season ticket money is more crucial in Motherwell than it is even to Celtic, because we can make revenue from sponsorship deals, merchandising, and obviously high-value player sales, which are inevitably going to happen this summer. Now, you look at Motherwell being able to do that, and I think you're absolutely right, Kev. What they're doing is, I don't want to use the term calling their fans bluff, because it's a really generous offer they're making, but what they're doing is they're doing it safe in the knowledge, like you say, a large percentage of them will say, no, do you know what? Thank you for the offer, but I'd rather put my money back into the club. Because you were nice to me, that actually encourages me to do it, and I might actually get one for the Wayne now as well. Something like that, and it'll actually end up only increasing that goodwill and encouraging a larger fan base to follow, I think. Now, if they can act like that, and they can offer back, and we're sitting there with, I don't know what's sitting in the bank, let's be honest, but there's got to be money sitting there. You're talking about £5.3 million if it was a £100 offer to each fan. I think £100 offer to each fan is fair. I think it's something that everyone would appreciate. It's certainly not something the majority would actually end up taking. So if you ring-fence £5.3 million, and let's be honest, they've been good enough at squandering it on absolute rubbish the past couple of years anyway. So you're not even squandering it, you're giving it to fans, for goodness sake. Do you know what I mean? Rather than parading Vakun Bio for $2 million of it under green lights like the Hulk, you know what I mean? So use the 5.3, ring fence it, see how much of it you need, set a deadline for when you can claim the £100 back, and start acting like a club that's, wants to engage with its supporters again and wants to get back on side, rather than it almost feels like, well, you've done nothing wrong. You've just got to keep doing your part and we do ours. The fact is that their part in everything this season has been seriously called into question, and it's time for them to recognise that and to change their ways slightly and try and build this sort of the bridges that need to be built.
You're buying goodwill. You'll get it all back. You give them £100, they'll spend it in the shop. They'll spend it on merch. So yep. It's a total and utter no-brainer. It's just the gesture. As I get back to say you've got your finger on the pulse of the heart of the fans, show them something. Show them that you care. Show them that you understand. And show them that you want them. That you actually want them. You don't just see them as cash cows, or as non-persons or customers. I hate that word, customers. Supporters, they're fans. Treat them like such.
Correct, Tony, and that's you want your club to do morally what's right, and offering something back is morally right in a pandemic year. It is right. David Kelly comes in on the comments and he says, a discount for what? Losing the title? Would people even mention this if we won the league? I think we would, because it was brung up last June and it was brung up again at fans' meetings all during the year. Look at the terms and conditions. Sorry, but anybody expecting money back didn't read them. Look, Celtic changed the terms and conditions, and as Tony points it out, it's wanting your club to do the right thing and not just be a bland, faceless corporate entity.
Well, exactly.
Who's treating you like absolute rubbish.
I think, Kev, if it comes down to terms and conditions, then that's then going to what Tony said. That's now customer, not supporter. That's how you're being treated if we're going down that road.
It goes back to Hammy's comment, and I've said this a number of times. I didn't see the PLC as Celtic Football Club. I see the PLC as somebody I have a transaction with. I have a financial transaction with Celtic PLC. The PLC didn't represent me. The guys like yourselves and the supporters clubs and that, who actually have still got the Celtic core ethos at heart, represent me. The PLC are nothing. What I saw in that room on Thursday night was entitlement. Was nothing but entitlement that they expect us to turn up and give them money. And they won't do anything.
Yeah.
Sorry, Tony, on you go.
Oh, go on, Kev, sorry.
They just want us to turn up and give them money. It's like the old board blinkers were there, and that's the only thing I can compare it to.
And the thing is, well, PLC equals BFC, Business Football Charity. That should be their mantra. And Celtic supporters should railroad against that. The real hardcore fans, because PLC isn't BFC. You know what I mean? We're CFC, and we should be. What did you say, Kev? Charity football business.
Charity football, but by football.
Or football charity business. That in that order. You know, and that's what it should be. You know, but another example of how they've lost their heart and soul this season, those people at the top, and they're slowly but surely losing the supporters because they've had enough. They really have had enough.
There's been a case, I think, definitely the argument that there's been too long of the same thing, and the old saying of the falling asleep behind the wheel and all that. But I think literally it has went stale, and I think complacency has crept in, and I think being taken for granted, supporters just shelling out big money ever since they brought in Brendan Rodgers. But what they tried to do was they thought that season tickets were going to be bought based on Rangers re-arriving in the league as much as they were, but what they're failing to realise is that it was actually the fact that Brendan Rodgers was in charge, a big manager, and we'd seen huge investment from the board that matched our ambitions, that tickled us. That's what got everyone's fancy. And I think, going forward, if you look at the downgrade that was made in the management, and it was a downgrade from £9 million compensation, we spent buttons on the next manager because of this complacency I'm talking about, because of this taking it for granted that we'll put that compo money away in a kitty and we'll still get all the season tickets, because it's now, before you know it, 9 in a row, 10 in a row seasons, and no one wants to miss that. Well, now the 10 in a row came off, the wheels have came off, there's still no manager there. And as Kev rightfully says, renewals would normally be out by now already. What are you going to do? Over to you, Celtic, I say.
The irony wasn't lost on any of the fans either, that on a day like Saturday, our former manager was winning the FA Cup for Leicester for the first time in our history.
We discussed that, Tony.
A man that was basically chased from our football club.
And a man who hugged the owner because the owner gets it. And that's a board and a manager working in perfect harmony, because he said to him, I trust you implicitly, you can take my club to dizzy heights. And Brendan has, because he was arguably the best manager we'd had since Steen, O'Neill, whatever way you want to say it. So, and we had him there, and he would have stayed if they just matched his ambition. I know it's easy to say, they've got millions in the English Premier League, but he's doing the same thing. He's just managing footballers. He's making good players better. He's been successful. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? And it hurts. And you watch that, and only the most hard-hearted of Celtic supporters would have grudged Leicester that on Saturday. I'd probably a lot of them cheered when your man scored, because I certainly wish him well. And it's hard to watch that you had that man and you let him slip through your fingers.
They should be ashamed when they seen that. I mean, when you see him lifting that trophy walking about, does this look familiar to you? That's the only thought you could think. Does this not look familiar? And when he's doing that quickly, what he's done at Leicester as well. Bear in mind they're about to finish top 4, and they're not part of the supposed Big Six, and they certainly don't have the budget of a lot of those teams as well. So when it comes to the spending money thing either, yes, he wanted to spend the most money in Scotland, but he'd also generated the most money. We turned over £100 million twice. How can we? He left us every tool in the toolbox to go and win the 10. And the only reason he was leaving is because his nose had been put out of joint that summer. Ironically, there was apparently some people were saying on Twitter there was 3 players that could have been playing for Celtic that played for Leicester at the weekend. Yeah. I certainly could think of Castagne. I wasn't sure of the other ones, but that just, frustrates you even further, because see when you get an elite manager, why is this annoying you that he's right all the time? Why would it be annoying you? Why would this be something that's, why don't we sign someone that he's never heard of just to rock the boat a bit? Why he wants to get Castagne for £9 million, we're not going to pay that. We want to get John McGinn, we're not going to pay that. Castagne, that's how much Rodgers was convinced of him. He then went and paid £22 million to bring him to Leicester. and we wouldn't pay 9 a year before or 18 months before. So that tells you this man, when he's telling you a player, he knows it's a player. Look at the trophies. It was so in your face easy. And then, if you have fell out with him and he has maybe made noises to go to China and he's maybe, you don't think his heart's in it, and maybe in December you thought he would have went if that tragedy never happened at Leicester Football Club. If you thought he would have left then, fair enough, but you then get £9 million. How do you spend that £9 million? How do you spend it? It should surely be, I think it's the 6th or 7th highest amount of compensation in the world paid for a manager. Still, right? Which is mind-boggling. We're not asking you to even spend all $9 million of it on the next managerial team. But by gosh, the vast majority, I said that you there, Kevin, flabbergasted. By gosh, but the vast majority should be spent on the next managerial team to maintain those standards and to get the 10 done and to keep getting back into the Champions League. Instead, we spent buttons, we spent rice, and we got complacent. And I think now everything that we do reeks of that complacency.
Going back to initials, that's what happens when a CEO becomes a DOF.
That's it.
And he's not an MVP at that, you know what I mean?
No, definitely not. Definitely not. I want to go, Russell, you mentioned when Brendan Rodgers turned up, they stuck 50 quid on the season books that season. They stuck 50 quid in the season book knowing that they were going to sell 20,000 more. And that also reckoned that they stuck 50 quid on the season books because it suits their old firm business plan.
Absolutely.
They stuck £50 on it, changed the terms and conditions and charged individual price tickets for the old firm games. I'm calling them old firm games because that's what our board want us to call them. They started charging 49 quid for a ticket for those individual games. It's part of the business model.
They realised, but when 13,000 turned up to wave to them, they're in. We've got them, hook, line and sinker. 13,000 turned up to wave to a man waving a scarf above his head. From that moment on, the Celtic supporters were locked in. They were buying what Brendan Rodgers was selling, not what the board were selling. And that's why they took these steps, like 49 quid for individual games, 50 quid onto the season ticket price, because they knew the fans were hand over fist. It was like when Fergus said, you're going to pay 625 quid a share, oversubscribed. Right? It's just like, I'll do it, you know what I mean? Because for the betterment of Celtic Football Club. And if you do things for the betterment of Celtic Football Club, Kevin, as you said, goodwill, Celtic fans will oversubscribe. But see, if you don't give them value for money, no, that's not the way it works.
We're not sheep, eh? We just didn't bow to the establishment. We just don't bow to our ruler's word and blindly follow them. We actually do question stuff because it's in our DNA.
Absolutely.
It's in our DNA, and I wouldn't want it any other way. David Kelly's came back in. They changed the terms and conditions before they went on sale. We are a PLC. They have done the right thing for the shareholders because they have to. Well, I think that's wrong. We shouldn't do the right thing for the shareholders. We should do the right thing for the supporters. We're actually a football club. We're an FC. We are a football club. You have a look this season at fan power. Fan power in the last couple of weeks with the European Super League. Fans got that changed. And Don Mackay actually mentioned this in the fans forum when he went, you have a look at the European Super League. When any changes are getting made, we have to bear in mind historical locales that teams are playing in. So for me, that put a kibosh on the British Super League as well. But fans can actually make a change. Now, one of the things that was brung up was the refunds from the end of the 9 in a row season, which was, I think, you got 100 odd quid back for the home games that you had actually missed. It was mentioned, and it was also like, it was nearly spat out, 30,000 took those refunds. But what they failed to actually mention was 30,000 took those refunds when the board stopped listening to us. when the Celtic support actually realised that the only way to get this board to actually listen to us, this executive committee to actually listen to us, was to stop money. And that's only currency that they understand. That's only language that they understand.
Yeah, I think. Sorry, Tony. I think you find yourself in this position because of penny pinching. This is what leads to then you being cagey about being able to ring fence such amounts like £3 million or 5.3 million, whatever it was you said. You're worried about that, or 10.6, I think, if it had been 200 each. I mean, you're worrying about that because you made the business that was a machine, a well-oiled Celtic machine that was turning over 100 million a year, qualification at the Champions League, perfect manager. As Tony just says, you're getting 13,000 fans outside because everyone's bought in. Surely, if your business, as you say, your eyes light up if you're the businessman because you're going, everyone's bought in, they're going to buy more shirts this year than ever. All the season tickets will be gone in seconds. Look at this. Why on earth would you not then, if you fell out with that current incumbent, right, in Rodgers' case, and he's going, why would you not try and repeat that trick again and try and make that sort of money again instead of trying to scrape? And that is complacency. And what that's ended up doing, right, is now making things like when the pandemic hits, us more vulnerable than what we should have been. And I get that it's obviously completely unparalleled what's happened and unprecedented and all that. I do get that. But for me, Celtic still had that's 3 years now in a row we've not qualified for the Champions League. Think about that extra 105 million pounds that could have been, something like that could have helped us being able to go, what is it you're after here with the added discount? That's for mid-season, by the way, not at the end of the season. And then if it is a £200 discount each, don't worry about it, because we're a progressive club that rakes in big money. But instead, their penny pinching razors came back to bite them on the backside.
Where's the harm in 30,000 people taking that money?
No.
I think it's shameful that they bring that up and then guilt trip you into saying, well, if you don't give us your money this season, you're not going to get players.
Exactly.
Right? It's just shameful display at the meeting, Kevin, as you say, pointing the finger. Well, if we don't challenge, it's your fault.
This is on you, yeah.
This is on you.
This is on you, aye.
Spinning it right round and guilt tripping you into going, I better, wait a minute. Wait a minute. Where was the care and the due diligence from you guys last season, the planning, meticulous planning to bring home the title in a season that mattered to everybody? It was in absentia. You fell asleep at the wheel, and all of a sudden it's the Celtic supporters' fault.
Yeah.
I beg to differ. And if 30,000 want to take that refund, good on them, I say. I wish more of them would have taken up the refund.
See, in the last couple of weeks, that's becoming more and more apparent. It's a wee message is getting fed through. Yeah. It was the fans' fault. It's all the fans' fault. How is it our fault? It's not our fault. We didn't buy Barkas. We didn't buy Ayeti. We were telling you 3 seasons ago, didn't fall asleep at the wheel because we could see this coming. So how is it the fans' fault? The fans have stepped up to the plate constantly and fired in money.
Every time.
That's what we've done. And we've got no goodwill from the Celtic PLC at all.
And that narrative of being entitled has crept in. You're starting to see it more and more. There are a shower of entitled fans. This drip feeding of that poisonous word, entitled. Never been entitled, never felt entitled. Like winning, it's a big difference. But accept what we can't win all the time. But this club, as Russell has said, was in such a position of strength that it does flabbergast you, and it's unfathomable how they've gone. It's just gone belly up in less than 12 months. But it's our fault.
They didn't read one CV when they appointed Neil Lennon. They just had a draw full. That's you've got to look back at that and go, see, even to say that reeks of complacency. Even if I'm guessing that they did look at CVs. I mean, surely they must have. But see, to just be saying blasé comments like that gives you a wee insight as to whose fault this mess is.
But it's not the fans' fault, is it? The fans weren't saying that. The fans weren't arrogant or complacent. We signed roadmapping it and signing it all the way through, as Kevin said. Mm-hmm. So And because they know better and they never listen to us, they're in the state they're in.
Mm-hmm. Correct. Fully 100%. Paul here comes into the comments. I know Paul, I hope Paul's doing well. Kev, I took the refund because I had free Adidas strips to buy. It was a no-brainer. There you go. I wonder how many folk did take the refund and went and spent it on Celtic gear anyway. It's
Totally.
What I'm actually saying is I understand that they've got a duty to the PLC and a way that, but I didn't want them. Everybody knows my fault. What I would actually say to Don Mackay, I want the sponsorless kits. I want £10 tickets. I want a complete and utterly. I want Celtic what Brother Walford wanted Celtic to actually be. I don't want to be. I didn't want to be at the mercy of a PLC or anything like that. What I want Celtic to do is to show the support, a bit of goodwill for all the money that we've put into the club and offer us a discount this season. That's it. Whether you take it or not is up to you. I don't care. I just want the club to do the right thing and offer it. But what I've actually seen, the only people that are entitled within the whole Celtic family, I'll use the Celtic family word, which was used in that meeting. The only people that are entitled in the whole Celtic family are those sitting in Celtic Park, are those in executive positions, and are those in the PLC, because they think they're entitled to think we're just going to roll over and get our tummies tickled, and they're wrong.
And their pals who can afford 6 season tickets.
He's on it, eh?
Well,
Good, innit?
want to know something? This is the only place that will allow me to spout rubbish, eh? So I may as well come out and do it, eh? I may as well come out.
It's quality rubbish, though. There's a difference, you know what I mean? It's quality rubbish, you know what I mean?
I've actually just got a text message from my dad, right? And he says, I'm not watching you because the pubs are open. So there you go. Fair play to him. It's his first pint. It's his first pint that he can go for in 6 months. So,
good on him. Good
on him. Right, I suppose after. I must admit, Mark came in and says, Bango's next season's media passes to Celtic. It'll only be my media pass that will disappear, Mark. So I'm not too worried about that. Let's go to have a look back on Saturday's non-event, which was a complete non-event, and have a wee look back at Lennody's time in 10 games in charge of Celtic. I must admit, when I saw the team selection on Saturday, Russell, what did you think when you saw his team selection?
I think for me, I feel like there's a wee bit of self-preservation. I think Kennedy's got aspirations to be a manager, and I think he was desperate to try and get that win percentage of his up, because it wasn't at a particularly great level since he took, I think it was 4 wins out of 9. So you're going to be wanting to have at least a 50% win record when you leave, and he's thinking by sticking with the, how can you call them tried and trusted after this season, but the tried and trusted, that was the best way to get a result. I think when you look at it from a Celtic point of view, you were really hoping to see some more fresh blood in that team. Karamoko Dembele comes on, scores, still doesn't get a start on the last day of a dead season. Do you know what I mean? I just think that's what could be the other reason for that. What are we worried about? What's he got coming after that? Nothing. It was a complete free hit to play someone like that and reward them for scoring midweek as well. And I just thought the team lineup was dull. The team's been dull since Kennedy took over, and yeah, just boring, and at least it's all over now.
Kevin, you gave me the stats before. What was it? 4 wins?
4 wins, 4 draws, 2 defeats.
2 defeats, aye. 4-4-2. Formation he never played. Basically, or if he did, he was kidding us all on. I used a word after the recovery, bouffing. I said, absolutely bouffing. And it was bouffing from the moment you saw the team, and then you watched the game, and all your thoughts about it, or how you thought it would go, came true. I mean, just a dreadful way to finish a dreadful season. And the Karamoko Dembele debate, it really is. It beggars belief what I never unleashed a youngster like that and give him the freedom of Easter Road and say, go and express yourself, go and have fun, go and put a smile on the Celtic supporters' faces and give them some hope, something to look forward to for the next season, and for the new manager coming in to maybe say, you're a player, we can work with you, something. But nah, what does he do? A bland formation.
Remember we did it with Aidan McGeady.
Yep.
Played him at Tynecastle, I think it was, the last day of the season. I think he was 16, 17. And Martin O'Neill played him last day of the season at Tynecastle, scored it in 20 minutes. We all know what McGeady then went on to become after that. It was a free hit. Okay, won the league, I think, that year. No, lost it. But the difference is, these free hits, these guys need their chance, and they need to be rewarded when they're doing well, and they need to get that experience.
O'Neill did it with Maloney as well at Ibrox, didn't he? Brought him on and he looked good. And
that's right.
Neil Lennon did it with Forrest, who scored against Motherwell the last game of the season. Is that right? First time round, I believe. Guys like that. So there is no harm. It's a win-win. Because if Dembele goes on to shine, then you get a wee lift from that, don't you? There's a feel-good factor, and you sort of say, do you know what? A new manager's coming in, can look at him and say, wee man, you've got a big part to play here, and you think you're a player and trust them. So, but we got nothing.
I think what you've got to actually have a look at as well, Celtic are getting a lot of flack for the Lowland League, putting a Colts team in the Lowland League, and we've had 10 games basically, or 8 games since the league's been lost, to basically blood as many youngsters as we can. and we talk about not giving youngsters opportunities, and we've had 10 games go, well, the pressure's off, on you go. See how we can go. See how he's get on. You look at Montgomery on the game against St Johnstone, played well for 60 minutes. I can understand how his fitness dropped after 60 minutes, because these lads haven't played football for almost a year, competitive football for almost a year. Then he gets, 12 minutes on Saturday? Dembele as well would have had the same physical problem as what Montgomery would have had, but he should have started. We started a team once again with no word at Easter Road, and that was a big problem. We were trying to go through a packed Hibs defence, Hibs forced us into the middle, but when we play that diamond, everything is very narrow. If your two fullbacks are not going to give you any word, which John Joe Kenny, nobody really knows what he's gave us for the number of games that he played, and we all know that maybe going forward is maybe not Greg Taylor's natural game, but he gives it a go. He does give it a go. But it's just, for me, this has been a missed opportunity to give us some sort of feel-good factor going into next season, that he could have played a lot of these youngsters for us to actually make rash decisions on, because we'll love to make a rash decision on a youngster.
Look, O'Connell's playing really well at Queen's Park, so this is a guy that played games for Bulletin, in the second tier in England. So I think a lot of Celtic fans might have wanted to see what Luke O'Connell could bring to the table, because I think he played once and people were saying, he's got an eye for a pass or a decent, he showed up well. And I know, as you say, it was a pre-season game, so rash judgments are go-go, but I think people want him out to see what he can bring to the table, because he has gone there, and myself and Russell were talking about this, he's taken Queen's Park loan move seriously. He showed up and he's been a star. Mm-hmm. So I think you reward that and you say, we'll come back and we'll give you a game, because you've dedicated yourself to your craft over these past few weeks, and you've not gone there and mucked about and not be bothered because it's Queen's Park. You've showed Celtic true professionalism there. So there's a wee reward. Go and play in the first team and see if you can cement your place for next season. It's
the same with a guy who went to Clyde as well. The Clyde fans have been, I can't remember his name, but the Clyde fans have been raving about the big fella that went to Clyde. Played centre half for them. The Dunfermline fans were well impressed with Ewan Henderson when they went there. I mean, these guys have put their hands up and went out on loan. Maybe Luke O'Connell will be going, I shouldn't be playing this level of football. But the guy's been desperate and went out there. Ewan Otto is the guy that was at Clyde.
Yeah, O2.
O2. I don't know. You've got the guy at Tranmere as well, the boy O'Connor at Tranmere. These guys have been out on loan to play football. And I think that's got to bode well for them next season, because
they've taken it seriously, Kev.
Aye, they've got to take it seriously. If they don't take it seriously, you see some guys who go on loan and I think...
Don't try a leg boots, yeah.
Aye,
because you think they're better than that. Mm-hmm. Right, as I get the look, O'Connell probably knows he's better than Queen's Park, but that's not the point. He has gone there and he has shone, and he's did really well, and I think a wee reward for him would have been to bring him back and give him a couple of first team games, because you're in a win-win situation there completely.
He would have been able to come back and play the final game of the season because Queen's Park season was finished.
Yeah.
So he could have came back. And we have a lot of these young project players who, Eddie Howe, when he's eventually announced, everybody starts with a clean slate. And a lot of people who are like throwing these guys underneath Russell's many buses might need to actually reverse what they're actually thinking, because some of these guys might come in and press 11 daylights out of Howe in his backroom team, which it didn't take the A-team as long to actually set up this backroom team as what it seems to get Howe, man.
But that'd be good management then, won't it, Kevin? If Eddie Howe can come in and make these good players better, a bit like what Brendan Rodgers did with some of his own staff and players that he had at his disposal,
Absolutely.
made them better, right? So when Eddie Howe walks in, one of the first questions he'll say, what have I got at my disposal? And then we spoke about the other pod, what's available in this country? And then you look at maybe other players from other clubs, the ones that were pinpointed, and then he'll know a whole raft of players from working in the EPL. So you fuse all that together, and hopefully there's some semblance of a plan and a team starts to emerge. But you can't just walk in and just say, right, discard that lot, discard what's in front of your own nose or under your own nose. You have to at least give them a chance, because Brendan Rodgers get the best out of Scott Brown, he get the best out of James Forrest, guys that were there and people were saying, they're maybe out the door, and so it's all down to good management. And if it is Eddie Howe stroke John Hughes, then hopefully then hopefully
Jack Ross,
forward slash Roy Keane / Rafa / Perm anyone from Hunters, right? You know what I mean? But so that's what we need to come in and cast our eye over everything, the whole football project.
You talk about the transfer strategy, right, and the person of interest. That's one of your catchphrases as well, Tony, right? So I was reading about him. He got an article in one of the papers this weekend. So just a wee Monday Club curveball right at the end. Why not? I think especially if his team were to be relegated, Ryan Gauld has got to be someone we look at now.
Of course. But I mean, if you're scouting network or you've got any scouting network, you'll see that. I mean, but you're not the only one interested in Ryan Gauld. But if he wants to come home, and Ryan Gauld was one of these players that was desperate to go away,
I know,
and enhance his football education, and expand his mind, So if you can entice Ryan Gauld to come home, then of course it's a no-brainer, because he's shown up superbly well. Yeah. But you and I knew he was a player at Dundee United.
No, I know that, but I'll be honest, I'd kind of forgotten about him. It was quite nice to read about, I think it was 9 goals, 9 assists in the Portuguese Premier League. I was going to try and pronounce it in Portuguese there. I thought better of it. But I think players like that, if they were to be relegated especially, let's get over it, man.
I'll tell you a great story. I was in pre-season with Motherwell in Portugal, and I got a phone call from my desk, and I was miles away from Lisbon, and I had to go the day Ryan Gauld signed for Sporting Lisbon, and I'm talking planes, trains and automobiles to get to Lisbon, right? And I was told you will get nowhere near the ground or the stadium, so I get booked into a hotel in Lisbon, and on the way there I thought, okay, I need to write something. I got a hold of Eric Dyer's dad, and Eric Dyer said, if Ryan Gauld wants to be a success in Portugal, learn the lingo. I thought, that's brilliant. That's great stuff, right? So he says, ingratiate yourself into the culture, do everything you can, become Portuguese, right? I thought, great. So I phoned my desk. I said, look, I've just spoke to Eric Dyer's dad. And they're like, who's he? And I'm like, Eric Dyer plays for England and Spurs. He's old man, he's played tennis. I says, and played at Wimbledon back in the day, right? And they're like, oh, right, whatever. Have you not got Ryan Gold yet? And I'm on this ramshackle train. He's like roasting hot. And I was just like, what's going on? Where am I going? So I get to Lisbon, and then I get up in the morning at 6:30. I go to the training ground, and there's a guy standing outside, watches the taxi go in, and he's just like, he's looking at his watch, and he was looking at his watch because 20 minutes later, there's me being manhandled, and guys shouting in Portuguese. Flabbergasted, I think was the word. And I get absolutely, honestly, they were going to kill me, right? They were going to batter me. And I looked, and the guy says to me, Scottish? I went, yeah. And he went, are you Tony? I was like, I'm Victor. I was like, my Portuguese contact that I phoned for Scotland. He's like, I knew you would get flung out. That's why I was looking at my watch. I see how long it would take them. It's like, honestly, priceless.
Tony, can I ask what made you contact Eric Dyer's dad? Where did that train of thought come into it?
He played for Sporting Lisbon.
Eric Dyer played for Sporting Lisbon at the time.
Did he?
So,
Right,
so I was trying to get Eric Dyer, but Sporting Lisbon are worse than Celtic in terms of paranoia. They don't like you speak to their players. So my pal said, look, here's Eric Dyer's dad's number. He maybe give you Eric Dyer's number and you can do a bit. And I was like, oh, brilliant. And Eric Dyer's dad was like, Tony, you'll get nowhere near. And he was saying to me, I advise you not to go to the training ground tomorrow morning because they'll kick absolute lumps at you and kick you, put you at the place. And I was like, I'm giving it, it's be alright, you know what I mean? And I was up there giving it, Tony Haggerty, Daily Record, is Scotia. Guys, bag, here's Portuguese for $1. The taxi driver was like, whoa, leave him alone type thing, you know. I was just like, honestly, it was like bedlam, you know, the dust clouds and all that thing, you know. And he's like, look, he says, Tony, you need to go. These guys are getting threatening, they're getting serious, you know. And I was like, all right, fine, you know, but I am giving it to Scotia.
I
know, spitting out random words.
That's a brilliant. I think that's a brilliant story to end on for today. It's a bit light-hearted at the end of a quite a dark season, really. So I want to thank everybody for getting involved. I want to thank Tony for that superb story there. Boyce for. I've actually noticed you're in feel of the day, Boyce.
Well, I know. We're at the end of a cycle, mate. So there was another Adidas tracky top, right? Now, we've been talking about political movements and all that, so I thought better of wearing it, especially after George Square the other day, but it was a Russia one. And it has like blue sleeves and it's white, and I thought, no the day, boys. So I've opted for the old B-sides, mate, so I went for feeling today, but we are pretty much at the end of a cycle. I had a Mexico one because I was speaking to JP.
Hugo Sanchez.
JP's bought a new Mexico one, so I've got an old Mexico. It must be at my mum's somewhere, so I'm going to dig that out and wear that in honour of JP's new Adidas Sippy. But I feel it today. Apologies to my sponsors Adidas for letting them down.
I always remember Mexico 86, Tony, I remember that as well, Hugo Sanchez.
Oh, Negrete and all that,
the first time, the noise that they made in the Azteca, the Mexico, superb. Right, that's us for the day, that's a Monday Club over. Ian Russell, I'll see you tomorrow night at 6:30 for a Scott Brown special, Screamer Celica.
Yes.
And we'll see you next Monday. Hail, keep calm and calm down.
Cheers, Kev.
See you later.